How to stop overthinking and start doing. You have a great idea inside you right now, but instead of acting, you replay the same worries over and over. Your brain thinks it is helping you stay safe from failure or shame. In reality, your brain has become a prison with no lock on the door. You wait for the perfect time, the perfect mood, or the perfect plan. That perfect moment never comes because it does not exist anywhere on this earth. This book is not about thinking better or feeling ready first. This book is about a simple, bold move from your head to your hands. Most self-help books give you more things to think about before you act. They add new rules, new habits, and new reasons to delay your first step. That is like giving a drowning person a heavier backpack to carry instead of a rope. You do not need another clever idea or another motivational quote on your wall. You need a tiny, repeatable, almost silly action that breaks the spell of overthinking. The spell breaks when your body moves before your mind finishes its argument. Let me show you how to become a person who starts, not a person who prepares to start forever. Chapter 1: The What If Trap. Your brain asks, what if, because it wants to protect you from danger. That question worked well when a tiger might jump from the bushes behind your village. But today, what if points at an email, a conversation, or a new hobby you want to try. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a tiger and a tough phone call you need to make. So it floods your body with the same fear chemicals meant for life or death moments. You feel shaky, tired, and confused about why a simple task feels so heavy. This is not a sign that you are weak or broken in any way. This is a sign that your ancient alarm system needs a modern reset button. The trick is to answer every scary what if with a silly, smaller what if right back at it. If your brain says, what if I fail at my new business, you answer, what if I learn one tiny thing today? If your brain says, what if people laugh at my painting, you answer, what if one person smiles because of it? You are not lying to yourself or pretending that failure cannot happen at all. You are simply refusing to let one scary story be the only story you tell yourself all day long. The human mind cannot hold two opposite, what-if questions at the same time very well. So your job is to insert a hopeful, what-if, right next to the fearful one. This small act does not remove fear, but it does remove fear's absolute control over your next move. Now write down the 3 worst, what-if questions that stop you from starting something important. Next to each one, write a kinder, smaller, and funnier, what-if, that feels at least a little bit true. For example, what if I look stupid becomes, what if I look brave for trying something new today? You are not required to believe the kind version fully before you act on it. You only need to give it a seat at the table next to the scary version. This balance of 2 possibilities is where action becomes possible again after days of being frozen. Most people wait until they feel 100% sure before they move one single finger. You are now learning to move when you feel only 51% sure, because that tiny edge is enough. Start calling what-if questions what they really are, uninvited guests at your party of progress. You do not have to kick them out with anger or frustration at yourself for having them. You simply say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I am driving this bus today. This polite but firm response trains your brain to send fewer alarm signals over time. You are not fighting your brain. You are gently teaching it a new, calmer way to do its job. Every time you act despite a what-if question, you leave a small victory mark on your mental map. That map grows larger and easier to follow with every single step you take. Soon, your brain will ask, what if, less often because it sees you are fine on the other side of action. Remember that every person you admire has faced their own loud, scary, what-if questions before they started. The only difference between them and someone who stays stuck is not less fear or more talent. The difference is that they learned to move their feet while their hands were still shaking from the question. You do not need to become a fearless superhero who never doubts anything at all. You only need to become someone who takes one small step forward while the doubts are still talking in the background. That step might be opening a notebook, sending a one-sentence message, or standing up from your chair. That tiny step breaks the hypnotic spell of overthinking faster than any amount of planning ever could. Chapter 2. Perfect is a ghost, stop chasing it. Perfection does not live anywhere in the real world where real people breathe and make mistakes. You have never seen a perfect meal, a perfect walk, or a perfect conversation between two honest human beings. What you have seen is finished things that started as messy, ugly, half-broken first attempts at something new. But your overthinking brain compares your messy first draft to someone else's polished final version years later. That comparison is not fair to you, and it is also not based on how creation actually works at all. A bird does not wait to build a perfect nest before laying one single egg inside it. A baby does not wait to take a perfect step before trying to stand up for the 100th time. You are holding yourself to a standard that does not exist for any living creature on this planet. The chase for perfect is actually a sneaky form of hiding from the world and from your own potential. When you say, "I will start when my plan is perfect," you are really saying, "I will never start at all." This sounds harsh, but it is also strangely freeing once you see the trick your mind has played on you. You cannot fail at something you never actually begin, so your ego stays safe and comfortable forever. But your soul feels tired, heavy, and quietly angry at all the games you play to avoid trying. Perfect planning is a warm blanket that keeps you small, safe, and stuck in the same spot year after year. The most successful people you know are not the best planners. They are the best fixers of broken attempts. They throw messy work into the world, watch what happens, and then fix it as they go along. Your new goal is not to make a perfect thing. Your new goal is to make a real thing. A real thing can be ugly, short, weird, or even a little embarrassing to show to other people right away. But a real thing exists outside of your head, and existence is infinitely better than imagination alone. You can improve a real thing, but you cannot improve a thing that lives only in your thoughts forever. Think of a sculptor who stares at a rock for 10 years waiting for the perfect idea to arrive. That sculptor has no statue, while a messy sculptor has 10 ugly statues and one beautiful one. The beautiful one came from practicing on the 9 ugly ones, not from waiting for magic to strike. You are the sculptor, and your first attempt is allowed to look like a confused potato with extra bumps. Set a timer for 20 minutes and create the ugliest, fastest, most imperfect version of your goal possible. Write a terrible poem, draw a silly sketch, or record a shaky video that you will never show your grandmother. The only rule is that you must finish before the timer rings, no matter how bad the result looks to you. When the timer rings, celebrate loudly because you have defeated perfectionism for one whole round of your life. You have proven that you can produce something real without waiting for the stars to align in your favor. This ugly draft is now a real object that you can touch, change, or throw away if you want to. But you cannot throw away a thought, which is why thoughts have kept you trapped for so many months. Keep this ugly first version somewhere safe as a trophy, not as a punishment for being imperfect. Look at it whenever your brain whispers that you need more time, more research, or more confidence before you act. That ugly thing is proof that you are braver than your fear, faster than your doubt, and bigger than your excuses. Over time, your ugly drafts will become less ugly without you even trying very hard at all. The secret is that less ugly happens naturally when you make many things instead of dreaming about one perfect thing. You do not become a writer by thinking about writing. You become a writer by writing terrible sentences first. You do not become a painter by buying fancy brushes. You become a painter by making muddy colors on cheap paper. So go make your ugly thing today, and let perfect die as the ghost it has always been. Chapter 3. The 2 a.m. Movie Theater. You know that feeling when you lie in bed, and your mind plays scary movies of things that have not happened yet. The movie shows you getting fired, rejected, embarrassed, or left alone by everyone you care about. These movies feel so real that your heart races and your stomach turns like you are watching a horror film. But here is the truth that changes everything. These movies are not news reports about your future. These movies are works of fiction written by a tired, anxious brain that needs rest and kindness. The same brain that creates these scary films cannot also predict the future with any accuracy at all. In fact, your brain is famously bad at guessing what will happen next in your real life. Most of the terrible things your brain predicted last year never happened exactly the way you feared they would. The first tool to stop this midnight movie theater is to name what is happening out loud to yourself. Say, I am watching a scary movie that my tired brain made up a few minutes ago. Say, this is not real news. This is a fictional story that feels real because I am sleepy right now. Giving the movie a silly title can also break its power over your emotions in a surprisingly effective way. Call it The Night of 1,000 Silly Worries or Attack of the Imaginary Problems That Never Come. Laughter is not disrespectful to your feelings. Laughter is a key that unlocks the cage of overthinking instantly. When you laugh at a scary thought, you step from being inside the movie to watching it from the outside. From the outside, you can see the bad acting, the fake monsters, and the plot holes everywhere you look. You become the critic instead of the victim, and critics do not run away from fake danger at 2 in the morning. Now you need a physical action to interrupt the movie before it plays the same scary scene for the 10th time. Get out of bed and walk to your kitchen to drink a small glass of cold water very slowly. Touch 5 different surfaces in your room and name their textures out loud like rough, smooth, cold, soft, bumpy. These actions force your brain to stop making fiction and start paying attention to what is real around you right now. Real things do not include the imaginary boss who fires you next Tuesday in your head. Real things include the blanket on your legs, the sound of your breath, and the floor under your feet. This is called grounding, and it works better than any amount of arguing with your own thoughts ever will. You cannot argue a scary movie away, but you can change the channel by using your 5 senses fully. Write down 3 of the most common scary movies your brain plays during quiet moments before sleep. Next to each movie title, write one fact that proves the movie is not happening in this exact present moment. For example, I will lose all my money becomes, my wallet is on the table and I have enough for tomorrow's coffee. You are not pretending that bad things never happen to good people anywhere in the whole wide world. You are simply reminding your panicked brain that right now, in this room, you are safe and okay. This practice does not remove all fear from your life, and it is not supposed to do that impossible job. It gives you a small bridge from the fake danger of tomorrow to the real safety of today. Cross that bridge enough times, and your brain will start believing the safe path more than the scary one. Remember that your brain creates these movies because it loves you and wants to keep you alive. The problem is not that your brain cares too little. The problem is that your brain cares too much without enough real information. Thank your brain for trying to protect you, and then show it the evidence that you are fine right here. Over time, the movies will become shorter, quieter, and easier to turn off before the 3rd scary scene. You might even start watching them with curiosity instead of terror, like a scientist studying a strange bug. The bug cannot hurt you once you see it clearly and stop feeding it your full attention and panic. So the next time your brain starts its midnight show, grab your imaginary remote and press the off button firmly. Then turn over, close your eyes, and whisper, "Not tonight, my friend, not tonight." Chapter 4. Your phone is not your friend. Your phone feels like a friend because it never argues with you and always gives you something new to see. But a real friend would not steal 3 hours of your life before you even notice the sun has moved across the sky. A real friend would not make you feel worse about yourself after you spend time together in the dark before sleep. Your phone is designed by very smart people to keep you looking, scrolling, and thinking without ever doing anything real. Every color, sound, and notification is a tiny trap that catches your attention and feeds your overthinking habit. You pick up your phone to escape a worried thought, but the phone gives you 100 new worried thoughts instead. You put the phone down feeling heavier, more tired, and less sure of what you actually want to do today. This is not your fault, but fixing it is your responsibility if you want to stop overthinking for good. The first change is to create a physical distance between your body and your phone during your most creative morning hours. Charge your phone in a different room than the one where you sleep, even if that feels strange for the first few nights. Buy a simple alarm clock that costs very little money and does not show you any emails or social media posts at all. When you wake up, you must complete one small doing task before you are allowed to look at your phone screen at all. That task could be making your bed, drinking water, stretching for 2 minutes, or writing one sentence in a notebook. Your brain needs time to wake up and remember that you are a human who does things, not just a consumer of content. The first 30 minutes of your day set the pattern for the next 15 hours of your thoughts and actions. If the first 30 minutes are spent watching other people live their lives, you will feel behind all day long. Now set specific phone islands throughout your day where looking at the screen is allowed without any guilt at all. For example, you can look at your phone only after lunch for 15 minutes and again after dinner for 15 minutes. Outside of those islands, your phone lives in a drawer, a bag, or face down on a table far from your working hands. This sounds impossible only because you have never tried it with kindness instead of punishment or harsh rules. When you feel the urge to check your phone, pause and ask yourself what feeling you are trying to escape at that moment. Are you bored, lonely, tired, scared, or avoiding a hard task that you know you need to start? Your phone is not the problem. The phone is the painkiller you take for a wound you refuse to look at. Look at the wound, name it, and then take one tiny action toward healing it instead of numbing it. Write a list of 5 real-world activities that you can do instead of scrolling when the urge hits you hard. These could be calling a friend, drawing a silly shape, walking around your block, or cleaning one single dish. Keep this list taped to your wall near where you usually sit with your phone in your hand for too long. When you catch yourself overthinking after a long scroll, you now have a menu of better options ready to go immediately. You are not trying to become a monk who never touches a screen or enjoys modern technology at any time. You are trying to become the boss of your phone instead of letting your phone be the boss of you. A tool serves you, but a master controls you, and you were born to be free, not controlled by a glass rectangle. Every time you choose a real action over a scroll, you vote for the person you truly want to become. Watch what happens to your overthinking when you remove the endless stream of other people's opinions from your quiet mind. You will feel bored at first, and that boredom will feel uncomfortable like an old muscle waking up after years of rest. But boredom is not an emergency, and you do not need to solve it with more noise from your pocket. In that boredom, your own ideas will finally have room to breathe, stretch, and grow into actions worth taking. You will remember that you wanted to learn guitar, write a letter, or build a small shelf for your kitchen wall. Those quiet desires have been screaming under the noise of notifications, but you could not hear them until now. So give your phone a bedtime before your own bedtime, and give yourself the gift of silence and space. Your overthinking cannot survive in silence, but your doing can finally stand up and take a bow. Chapter 5. The 5-second rule, not the floor one. There is a tiny window of time between when you have an idea and when your brain kills that idea with excuses. That window lasts about 5 seconds, and then the overthinking engine starts roaring with reasons to stay still and safe. If you do not move your body within those 5 seconds, you will talk yourself out of almost every good idea you ever have. The 5-second rule is simple. When you feel the impulse to act, you count backward from 5 to 1 and then move immediately. You say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 go out loud or in your head, and your body follows the command before your brain can argue. This is not magic or positive thinking. This is a physical trick that interrupts a habit loop in your nervous system. Your brain cannot argue and count at the same time because those two activities use different parts of your thinking machine. So counting steals the microphone from your fear voice and gives it to your action voice for just long enough to move. You can use this rule for small things first to build your confidence and your speed at acting without thinking too much. Use it to get out of bed when the alarm rings instead of hitting snooze for 30 more sleepy minutes. Use it to stand up from your chair when you know you need to stretch your legs and give your eyes a rest from the screen. Use it to say hello to a neighbor instead of pretending you did not see them from across the street. Use it to open the book, pick up the pen, or send the text that your heart has been screaming to send for 3 days. Each small win teaches your brain that moving fast is safe and that nothing terrible happens when you act on impulse. Your brain learns a new pathway where thought leads to action in 5 seconds instead of 5 hours of painful delay. Soon this pathway becomes the main road your brain uses, and the old road of overthinking grows grass and gets forgotten. The beauty of the 5-second rule is that it does not require you to feel brave, ready, or confident before you use it at all. You can be shaking, scared, and completely sure that you will fail, and the rule still works exactly the same way every time. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is counting backward while your knees knock together like two nervous drumsticks. You are not waiting for the perfect emotional state, because that perfect state does not exist for anyone on this planet. The most successful actors, athletes, and speakers all feel fear before they perform their biggest moments in front of crowds. They have simply learned to move their bodies before their fear finishes its speech about all the things that could go wrong. You are no different from them except that you have not yet practiced the skill of moving through the fear quickly. That skill is called courage, and courage is a muscle that grows every time you use the 5-second rule. Pick 3 actions that you have been avoiding for more than 1 week because your overthinking feels too loud to ignore. Write these actions on a small card that you carry in your pocket or tape to your bathroom mirror where you cannot miss it. For the next 7 days, every time you think of one of these actions, you must count down and start it immediately without any debate. If you cannot finish the whole action, you only need to start it, because starting is the hardest part of almost everything. The first step is the mountain, and every step after that is just a walk on flat ground compared to that first move. Your brain will scream that you need more time, more research, or more energy before you take that first tiny step. That scream is a lie that your brain has told you 10,000 times, and you have believed it every single time. Today you stop believing the scream and start trusting the countdown instead, because the countdown has never lied to you once. Watch how your identity shifts from someone who overthinks everything to someone who acts within 5 seconds. That shift does not take months of therapy or years of expensive coaching sessions to happen in your life. It takes one decision and one repetition of the rule, followed by another repetition, and then another after that. You are not fixing a broken part of yourself. You are unlocking a part that has been waiting for permission to lead your life. The rule works for big things too, like asking for a raise, ending a bad relationship, or starting a difficult conversation. But you must practice on small things first so your brain trusts the rule when the big moment finally arrives at your door. So start today with the smallest thing you have been avoiding, count backward from 5, and laugh as your body moves before your mind objects. That laugh is the sound of your freedom, and it costs you nothing but 5 seconds of your precious time. Chapter 6. Eat that tiny frog. There is an old saying that if you have to eat a live frog, you should eat it first thing in the morning. The idea is that after you eat the frog, the worst part of your day is already behind you before breakfast even starts. Your frog is the task you are avoiding the most, the one that your overthinking brain circles like a shark around a boat. This frog is probably not that big or scary when you look at it with honest eyes instead of anxious ones. But your brain has blown it up to the size of a monster because you have been running from it for too long. The running is actually worse than the frog, because running drains your energy all day while the frog just sits there quietly. When you finally eat the frog, you feel light, free, and amazed that you wasted so much energy being scared of it. So your new job is to identify your tiny frog each morning and eat it before you check your phone or your email. The first step is to write down your frog the night before so you wake up with a clear target and no confusion at all. Do not write a list of 10 frogs because 10 frogs will overwhelm you and your brain will shut down completely. Write only one frog, the ugliest one, the one that makes your stomach turn when you think about doing it. Put the note on your coffee maker, your pillow, or your phone screen so you cannot escape seeing it first thing in the morning. When you wake up, you do not negotiate with the frog, ask the frog questions, or try to make friends with the frog. You simply open your mouth and take the first bite, which means doing the smallest possible version of the task right away. That smallest version could be opening the document, picking up the phone, or walking to the place where the work happens. You are not required to finish the whole frog in one bite. You only need to start chewing before your brain wakes up fully. Your brain will try to convince you that you need coffee, breakfast, a shower, or a short walk before you eat the frog. These are lies that your brain tells you because it wants to delay the discomfort of starting something hard or unknown. The truth is that you can do hard things without coffee, without breakfast, and without checking the news for 20 more minutes. In fact, doing hard things first gives you more energy than any drink or snack could ever give you later in the day. Completing your frog releases a chemical in your brain called dopamine that makes you feel proud, capable, and ready for more action. That natural high lasts for hours and makes every other task feel like a fun game instead of a heavy burden to carry. You are not being mean to yourself by eating the frog early. You are giving yourself the gift of a light and easy afternoon. The afternoon version of you will thank the morning version of you with a deep, peaceful breath of relief. Start with a frog so small that it almost feels embarrassing to call it a frog at all in the first place. Your frog could be sending a one-sentence email, washing 3 dishes, or putting on your shoes for a walk outside. The size does not matter. What matters is that you do it before you do anything else that feels easy or fun to you. After you finish this tiny frog, you will feel a strange sensation that you might not recognize at first. That sensation is called momentum, and momentum is the opposite of overthinking in every single way that matters to your progress. Momentum feels like a gentle wind at your back, pushing you toward the next task without you having to push yourself at all. Once you feel momentum, you will understand why successful people wake up early and attack their hardest task without delay. They are not better than you. They have just learned that the frog tastes better when eaten first instead of last. Keep a simple log of every frog you eat for the next 30 days, and notice how your feelings change over time. The first week, each frog will feel like a small battle that you win through pure willpower and determination to change your habits. The second week, the frog will feel more like a familiar chore that you do without much emotional drama or resistance from your brain. The third week, you will start to feel strange and uncomfortable on days when you do not eat a frog before noon arrives. The fourth week, eating the frog will feel as natural as brushing your teeth or putting on your shoes to go outside. You will have become a frog eater, and frog eaters do not overthink. They simply open their mouths and take the first bite. That is not a metaphor for being tough or ignoring your feelings in a way that hurts your soul. That is a practical system for moving through fear without letting fear drive your entire schedule for the rest of your life. Chapter 7. Done Perfect. You have been taught your whole life that better work comes from more thinking, more planning, and more careful preparation before you act. But the most successful people in any field will tell you the opposite is true for almost every situation you face. A thing that is done is infinitely more valuable than a thing that is perfect, but exists only inside your imagination forever. Imagine 2 musicians. One writes a perfect song in her head, but never plays it for anyone at any time. The other writes a messy, simple song and plays it for 3 friends who clap and smile at her effort. The messy song exists in the world, can be heard, can be improved, and can make people feel something real right now. The perfect song does nothing for anyone because it lives in a prison where no ears can ever hear its beauty. You are the musician, and your work is screaming to be released from the prison of your overthinking mind. The phrase "done is better than perfect" is not an excuse to do lazy, careless, or thoughtless work that hurts other people at all. It is permission to release your work before your inner critic has finished rewriting every sentence 50 times in a row. Most of the improvements you imagine making before you start will not matter to the people who experience your finished work. Those improvements are for your ego, not for your audience, and your ego is not a reliable judge of quality at all. Your audience wants your honest, human, slightly messy offering more than they want a polished statue with no heart beating inside it. Think of the last time you saw a perfect performance that felt cold, fake, and empty, because the performer never made a single mistake. Now think of a performance where the singer's voice cracked with emotion, and you cried because it felt so real to you. The crack was not a flaw. The crack was the door where your heart entered and felt truly seen for the first time. Set a timer for 30 minutes and commit to finishing whatever you are working on before the timer runs out completely. You are not allowed to go back and fix anything until the timer rings and you have declared the thing done at that moment. This forces your brain to stop polishing and start producing, which feels uncomfortable at first but freeing very quickly after that. When the timer rings, you must share your done thing with at least one other human being who will see it as it is. That human could be a friend, a family member, an online group, or even a stranger who signed up to give you honest feedback. The sharing is the most important part because sharing breaks the illusion that your work must be hidden until it is flawless. Nothing you ever make will feel flawless to you because you are too close to it and you know where all the bodies are buried. Other people will not see those bodies unless you point at them and scream about how imperfect your offering truly is. Write the phrase "done perfect" on a sticky note and put it right next to your computer screen where you work every day. Every time you catch yourself rewriting the same sentence or adjusting the same color for the 20th time, look at that note. Ask yourself honestly, is this change making the work better, or is it just making me feel safer from judgment? If the answer is safety, then you must stop changing and declare the work done before your courage runs away from you completely. You can always make version 2 after version 1 exists in the world and people have responded to its messy glory. Version 2 will be better because you learned from real reactions, not from imaginary fears that live only inside your head. Version 1 is the key that unlocks version 2, but you cannot get that key without first turning the lock of completion. So turn the lock today, even if your hands are shaking, and let version 1 run free into the wild unknown. Watch what happens to your overthinking when you practice finishing things instead of perfecting things for weeks at a time. Your brain will slowly stop demanding that every sentence, brushstroke, or step be flawless before you move to the next one. You will start to trust that you can fix things as you go, which is how every great building, book, and business in history was actually built. The pyramids were not planned perfectly from the first stone. The builders adjusted, learned, and fixed mistakes along the long, dusty road. You are a builder, not a museum curator, and builders make messes while curators only clean up messes made by others. So make your mess, finish your mess, and show your mess to the world with a proud smile on your face. The world needs your messy, done thing more than it needs another perfect thing that never dares to exist at all. Chapter 8: The 10-Minute Dare. Your overthinking brain tells you that every task will take forever and drain all your energy until you have nothing left to give. This lie keeps you from starting because forever feels like too much to promise to anything that scares you even a little bit. But what if you only had to do the scary thing for 10 minutes and then you could stop with no guilt at all? What if 10 minutes was the whole deal, the entire commitment, and after that you were free to do whatever you wanted next? This is the 10-minute dare, and it changes everything about how you approach tasks that feel too big to begin right now. You set a timer for 10 minutes. You work only on that one task, and when the timer rings you stop immediately. You do not ask yourself if you feel like continuing, and you do not judge the quality of what you made in that short time. You simply dare yourself to exist in the task for 10 minutes, and then you reward yourself for keeping that dare. The magic of 10 minutes is that your brain does not see 10 minutes as a threat to its safety or comfort at any level. 10 minutes is a coffee break, a short walk, or the time it takes to watch one funny video on your phone without feeling guilty. Your brain will agree to 10 minutes of almost anything because 10 minutes feels small, harmless, and easy to survive without too much pain. But once you start those 10 minutes, something interesting happens to your focus and your resistance to the task at hand. The hardest part of any task is the first 2 minutes, and the 10-minute dare gets you past that wall without asking for permission. After 5 minutes, your brain often forgets that it was scared and starts to actually enjoy the feeling of making progress on something real. After 8 minutes, you might even forget to check the timer because your mind has stopped fighting and started flowing like a river after rain. When the timer rings, you often find yourself wanting to continue, but the dare says you can stop, and that freedom makes you want to continue even more. You can use the 10-minute dare for cleaning, writing, exercising, calling, or any other task that your overthinking has turned into a monster. The monster shrinks to the size of a mouse when you tell it that you only have to face it for 10 small minutes of your day. Your only job during those 10 minutes is to be present, not perfect, and to keep your hands moving on the task you chose to start. You are not allowed to check your phone, fix mistakes from yesterday, or plan what you will do after the timer finally rings. Those activities are escapes from the dare, and escapes are what overthinking people use to avoid the simple act of being here now. Being here now with a scary task for 10 minutes is a superpower that almost nobody practices in our world of constant distractions and noise. You will become rare and valuable simply by showing up for 10 minutes to things that other people avoid for 10 years. That is not an exaggeration. Most people avoid their dreams for decades because they never learned the 10-minute dare. Write a list of 5 tasks that you have been avoiding for more than 2 weeks because they feel too big or too boring to start. Next to each task, write the smallest possible 10-minute version that you could complete without any special tools or training. For example, clean the garage becomes spend 10 minutes putting 5 things back where they belong in the garage. Write a book becomes spend 10 minutes writing 3 terrible sentences about a character who wants something badly. Start a business becomes spend 10 minutes asking one friend what problem they would pay $5 to solve today. You see how the monster shrinks when you chop off its legs with the sharp knife of 10 minutes. The monster was never real. The monster was just a normal task wearing a scary costume that you built in your head. Take off the costume by daring yourself to look at the task for 10 minutes without running away to hide. You will laugh at how small the task really is, and that laugh is the sound of your overthinking losing another battle. Now commit to doing one 10-minute dare every single day for the next 30 days without missing a single dare at all. Mark each day on a calendar with a big colorful sticker so you can see your streak growing longer and more impressive over time. When you miss a day, and you probably will miss a day because you are human and not a robot, you start over without shame. Shame is the fuel of overthinking, and you are done letting shame drive your car anywhere at all from this moment forward. Each dare teaches your brain that starting is easy, that 10 minutes is safe, and that completion feels better than perfection ever could. After 30 days, you will not recognize the person who used to spend hours thinking about starting instead of actually starting. That person is gone, replaced by someone who dares themselves to begin and then laughs at how simple beginning actually is. So set your timer, take a breath, and whisper, 10 minutes, that is all, and then I am free. Then move, because moving is all that has ever separated the dreamers from the doers in this beautiful, messy world. Chapter 9: How to Fail Like a Pro. Most people think failure is a dead end, a stop sign, or a proof that they were never meant to try that thing in the first place. But professional doers see failure as data, as feedback, and as the fastest path to learning something that cannot be taught in any school. You cannot become good at anything without first being bad at it, and being bad means failing over and over again in small, visible ways. A baby does not fall down and say, I guess walking is not for me. I will just crawl for the rest of my life. A baby falls down 500 times and then walks, runs, and dances without any memory of the falls at all. You were that baby once, and somewhere along the way you forgot that falling is part of standing up, not the opposite of it. Your overthinking brain has convinced you that failure is something to avoid at all costs, even if avoiding it means never moving at all. But avoiding failure is avoiding life, And you did not come this far to hide from the very thing that makes growth possible. The first step to failing like a pro is to change what you call failure in the secret language of your own mind. Stop calling it failure and start calling it an experiment that gave you results you did not expect to find today. An experiment is not good or bad. An experiment is simply a question that you answered by trying something with your own two hands. You asked, "What will happen if I do this?" And now you know, and knowing is always better than wondering forever in the dark. Thomas Edison did not fail to make a light bulb 1,000 times. He found 1,000 ways that did not work before he found the one way that did. Each wrong way taught him something new about materials, electricity, and the shape of the problem he was trying to solve. You are Edison, and your wrong turns are not punishments. They are teachers wearing ugly sweaters that you will laugh about later. Collect your wrong turns like badges of honor, because each badge means you tried when most people only talked about trying. The best professionals in any field have a failure resume that is longer than your arm and heavier than your backpack full of books. They have been rejected, ignored, laughed at, and told to quit more times than you have probably even attempted anything at all. But they kept going because they knew that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a required course on the road to success. You cannot skip this course no matter how smart, talented, or lucky you happen to be in your life. Even the most gifted musicians practiced wrong notes for thousands of hours before they played a single concert that people paid to hear. Even the richest business owners lost money on bad ideas before they found the idea that made them wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. Failure is tuition, and tuition is not cheap, but the education you receive is worth more than gold or praise from strangers. So pay your tuition with a smile, knowing that each failed attempt brings you closer to the version of yourself who finally succeeds. Create a failure resume, where you list every significant failure, rejection, or mistake you have made in the last 5 years. Next to each failure, write one specific thing that you learned from that experience that you could not have learned any other way. For example, I failed to get that job becomes, I learned that I need to practice my interview answers out loud instead of just in my head. My first business lost money becomes, I learned that I should test an idea with real customers before I spend money on inventory or supplies. You will be shocked at how valuable your failures become when you look at them through this new lens of learning instead of shame. The shame was never yours to carry. The shame was a lie that a fearful culture told you about what it means to try and miss. Throw that shame away like an old shoe that hurts your foot and never fit you properly in the first place. Your failures are your secret weapon, your private school, and your competitive advantage over everyone who is too scared to fail even once. Now share one failure with a friend or a small group of people who will not punish you for being honest about your struggles. Say the words out loud. I tried this thing and it did not work, and here is what I learned from trying it anyway. You will notice that people do not laugh at you or walk away from you when you share your failures openly. In fact, they will probably share their own failures with you, and you will feel closer to them than ever before in your relationship. This is the hidden gift of failure. It connects you to other humans who are also failing, learning, and growing just like you are. Perfection isolates you behind a wall of fake confidence, but failure invites others to stand next to you in the messy middle of becoming. The messy middle is where real life happens, where real love grows, and where real progress is made by real people with real scars. So wear your scars proudly, tell their stories honestly, and watch how your fear of failure shrinks every time you speak its name out loud. Chapter 10: The So What Question. Your overthinking brain loves to blow small problems into huge disasters that block your path for days or weeks at a time. You worry about what people will think, what might go wrong, or what it will mean about you if you try and miss completely. But most of these fears fall apart when you ask them one simple, almost rude question. So what? So what if you send the email and they do not reply right away? So what if you post the video and 3 people laugh while 10 people feel inspired by your courage? So what if you try the new hobby and discover that you are not very good at it in the beginning? The so what question forces your brain to follow the fear to its end and see what is actually waiting there for you. What you usually find is not a monster, but a mild inconvenience that you can handle with the skills you already have today. You have survived every single bad day of your entire life so far, and that is a perfect track record of survival. So what if this next thing goes wrong? You will survive that too, and you will be stronger and wiser because of it. The so what question works because it exposes the gap between the size of the fear and the size of the real consequence. Most of your fears lead to embarrassment, discomfort, or a small loss of time or money that you can recover from easily. Very few of your fears lead to death, homelessness, or complete social exile where no one ever speaks to you again. But your brain treats every fear as if it leads to those worst-case scenarios because that is what brains evolved to do for survival. You have to override that ancient setting by asking, "So what?" until you reach a consequence that you can actually name and touch. Once you can name the consequence, you can make a plan for how to handle it if it actually happens to you in real life. And most of the time, the plan is simple. You will feel bad for a little while, and then you will feel better and try something else. That is not a tragedy. That is called being a human who takes risks in a world that rewards courage above everything else. So ask, "So what?" loudly and often, and watch your mountains shrink back into the molehills they always were. Write down your biggest current fear about a project or goal that you want to start but have been avoiding for too long. Now ask, "So what?" at least 5 times in a row, writing down each answer until you reach a final consequence that feels honest and real. For example, "I'm afraid to ask for a raise" leads to "So what if they say no?" leads to "I will feel embarrassed for 5 minutes." Then, "So what if I feel embarrassed?" leads to "I will still have my job and my health and my family who love me." Then, "So what if I still have all those things?" leads to "Then nothing bad really happens, and I can try again in 6 months with more practice." You see how the monster dies when you shine the light of "so what" on its face for more than a few seconds. The monster was a shadow, and shadows cannot survive in bright light, no matter how scary they look in the dark. You have been fighting shadows, and now you have a flashlight called "So what?" that burns every shadow into nothing. Practice using "so what" on small fears first so your brain gets comfortable with the question before you use it on big ones. Use it when you worry about what to wear, what to say, or whether to go to an event where you do not know anyone at all. Each time you ask, "So what?" you will feel a tiny release of tension in your chest and shoulders as the fear loosens its grip on you. That release is your nervous system learning that not every alert is an emergency that requires you to freeze or run away immediately. Over time, your brain will start asking, "So what?" on its own before the fear even has time to build a full story in your head. This is how you rewire an overthinking brain into a problem-solving brain that moves through fear instead of stopping at it. You are not removing fear from your life, because fear is a useful signal that should not be ignored completely at all times. You are simply putting fear in its proper place as a visitor, not as the owner of your house who makes all the rules about what you can do. Now notice how much energy you save when you stop treating every small risk like a life or death decision that requires hours of analysis. That saved energy can go into actually doing the thing instead of thinking about all the ways the thing might go wrong. You become faster, lighter, and more fun to be around because you are not carrying a backpack full of imaginary disasters everywhere you go. People will notice the change in you, and some of them will ask what your secret is for being so calm and brave. You can tell them the secret is 2 small words that cost nothing and work every single time they are asked with honest curiosity. So what is not a weapon against yourself? It is a key that unlocks doors that fear has kept locked for years without you even knowing it. Turn that key today, walk through the door, and see what has been waiting for you on the other side of your biggest "so what?" question. You might find that the other side looks exactly like freedom, and freedom is the best feeling a human being can ever feel in this life. Chapter 11. Delete the word should. The word should is a tiny poison that you drink every day without knowing that it is making you sick and tired. When you say, I should go to the gym, you are really saying, I'm not going to the gym and I feel guilty about it. When you say, I should call my mother, you are really saying, I have not called my mother, and now I feel like a bad person. The word should carries shame, pressure, and the voice of someone else telling you what your life is supposed to look like. That someone else could be your parents, your teachers, your friends, or the culture that surrounds you every single day. But their voice is not your voice, and their path is not your path, no matter how similar your lives might look from the outside. Should keeps you stuck in a loop of guilt and inaction because you never truly commit to the thing you are talking about. You just float in a gray cloud of obligation, feeling bad but not bad enough to actually change anything at all. So the first step to doing is to delete should from your vocabulary completely and replace it with something that actually works. The replacement for should is a choice between two powerful words, must or won't. If something is truly important to you, you say, I must do this thing today, and then you make a specific plan for when and how. If something is not important enough to be a must, you say, I won't do this thing right now, and you release the guilt completely. There is no middle ground of should where you torture yourself without taking action or making a clear decision at all. I must write 1 page before lunch is a command that your brain can follow because it is clear, specific, and attached to a time. I won't check my email until after I finish this task is a boundary that protects your focus without any shame about what you are not doing. Both must and won't put you in the driver's seat of your own life instead of floating down a river of other people's expectations. You become the decider, and deciders do not overthink because overthinking is what happens when you have not truly decided anything at all. So decide, and let should die the quiet death it has always deserved. Write down every should that runs through your head during a single normal day from morning until night without judging any of them. You will be shocked at how many there are, probably dozens or even hundreds of small shames flying through your mind like angry bees. I should wake up earlier, I should eat healthier, I should reply faster, I should be further along in my career by now. Each should is a small cut, and 1,000 small cuts will bleed you dry of motivation, joy, and the energy to start anything new. Now go through the list and for each should, decide if it becomes a must or a won't starting from this day forward. If it becomes a must, write down the specific time and place where you will do that thing without negotiation or delay. If it becomes a won't, cross it out with a thick marker and take a deep breath of relief that you are letting it go. You cannot do everything, and pretending that you can is a recipe for overthinking, exhaustion, and the quiet depression of never feeling good enough. Letting go is not failure. Letting go is wisdom about what deserves your limited time and energy on this earth. Notice how your relationship with yourself changes when you stop shoulding all over yourself every hour of every day. You start to trust yourself more because you only make promises that you actually intend to keep with your full heart. You stop comparing your real life to an imaginary life that was never yours to live in the first place. You feel lighter, clearer, and more excited about your musts because they came from you, not from a vague sense of what you are supposed to do. The people who love you will still love you when you stop doing things out of guilt and start doing things out of genuine care. In fact, they will probably love you more because you will be more present, more honest, and more fun to be around than before. Guilt is not a good long-term fuel for anything except burnout and resentment toward the people you are trying to please. Choose must and won't instead, and watch how your overthinking fades like fog burning off under a bright morning sun. Now practice this new language for 7 days straight, catching yourself every time the word should tries to sneak back into your speech. When you hear yourself say, I should, stop mid-sentence and restart with I choose to, or I will not instead. This feels strange at first, like learning to write with your other hand, but your brain adapts faster than you think it will. After a few days, should will sound as wrong to your ears as a wrong note in a song you have heard 1,000 times. You will notice other people using should all the time, and you will feel a little sad for them because you know the trap they are living inside. but you cannot save them. You can only save yourself by modeling a better way of talking to yourself and to the world. Your life is yours, not a rehearsal for someone else's idea of a life well lived. So delete should from your keyboard, your mouth, and your mind, and start living by the honest words must and won't from this day forward. You will not believe how much energy you get back, and that energy is exactly what you need to stop thinking and start doing at last. Chapter 12. Find your one yes. Most people fail to start because they try to say yes to 10 different things at the same time every single day. They want to exercise, learn guitar, start a business, read more books, eat better, and call their grandmother every week. Each of these goals is beautiful and worthy, but trying to do all of them at once is a setup for overthinking and quitting. Your brain cannot focus on 10 yeses, so it focuses on none of them and then feels like a failure for not making progress anywhere. The secret of people who get things done is not that they have more willpower or more hours in their day than you do. The secret is that they find their one most important yes and say no to almost everything else without feeling guilty about it. This one yes becomes their North Star, their main event, and the thing that they measure every other choice against each morning. Everything that is not a hell yes to that one yes becomes a no, and no becomes a peaceful word instead of a painful one. Finding your one yes requires honest answers to 3 questions that no one else can answer for you at any point in your life. First, what is the one thing that, if you did it well, would make everything else easier or completely unnecessary to worry about? Second, what excites you so much that you lose track of time when you are doing it, even when it is hard or frustrating? Third, what would make you proud to look back on 1 year from now, knowing that you focused on this instead of scattering your energy everywhere? The answers to these questions might surprise you because they are often not the things that other people expect you to care about at all. Your one yes could be building a small online store, writing a children's book, learning to cook 3 amazing meals, or getting strong enough to run a mile. The size does not matter. What matters is that this yes comes from your heart and not from a list of what you think you should want. Once you find your one yes, you write it on a card and carry it everywhere, and you let it be your filter for every decision you make. Now take a blank piece of paper and write your one yes at the very top in big, bold letters that take up the whole first line. Underneath, write down every single activity, habit, and commitment that currently takes your time during a normal week of your life. Next to each item, write either supports my yes or distracts from my yes with total honesty and no wishful thinking at all. You will be shocked at how many of your daily activities are distractions that you have never questioned because you have always done them. Checking social media for an hour, watching shows you do not even like, or saying yes to invitations out of guilt rather than genuine excitement. These distractions are not evil, and you do not need to hate yourself for doing them in the past at any point. But now you see them clearly, and seeing them clearly means you can choose to reduce them without feeling like you are missing out. Each distraction you remove gives you back time, energy, and mental space for your one yes to grow big and strong like a plant in fresh sunlight. The plant of your yes has been starved, and now you are finally watering it with the precious resource of your focused attention. The hardest part of finding your one yes is saying no to good things that are not your great thing at this moment in time. You will have to say no to invitations, opportunities, and even your own impulses to start a shiny new project every Tuesday afternoon. This feels painful because your brain loves novelty and hates the feeling of missing out on anything that might be fun or rewarding later. But every yes to a distraction is a no to your one yes, and that math does not change no matter how you try to bend it. You cannot serve 2 masters, and you cannot climb 2 mountains at the same time without falling down the cliff between them. Choose your mountain, pack your bag for that mountain only, and leave the other mountain for another season of your life entirely. That other mountain is not going anywhere, and you can climb it next year if it still calls to your heart when this yes is complete. For now, your job is to protect your one yes like a mother bear, protects her cub from anything that might hurt it. Watch what happens when you give your one yes 6 months of focused, consistent, daily attention without splitting your focus anywhere else. You will make more progress in those 6 months than most people make in 6 years of scattered effort and constant switching between goals. Your overthinking will quiet down because you no longer have to decide what to do. Your one yes has already decided for you before the sun rises. You will feel a deep satisfaction that no amount of scrolling, shopping, or sleeping in could ever give you at any point in your life. That satisfaction is not pride or ego. It is the quiet hum of a human being living in alignment with their own true values and desires. You were born to say yes to something, and you have been saying yes to too many things for too many years without even realizing it. So find your one yes today, protect it tomorrow, and watch it grow into something that amazes even you, the one who planted the seed in the first place. That is not a dream. That is a plan, and plans are for doing, not for thinking about while you fall asleep at night. Chapter 13. The Dirty Dish Lesson. A single dirty dish in your sink is not a big problem, but a week of dirty dishes is a mountain that feels impossible to climb. The same is true for every task you avoid. 1 day of delay is nothing, but 30 days of delay is a monster. The dirty dish lesson is simple. Small actions taken every day prevent big messes that lead to overthinking and paralysis later. You do not need to clean the whole kitchen. You just need to clean one dish, and then another after that. Each dish is a small win that builds momentum and proves to your brain that you are capable of handling your responsibilities without drama. The person who cleans one dish every night never faces a mountain of dishes, and that person sleeps better than the one who avoids the sink. You can apply this lesson to emails, bills, phone calls, or any other task that piles up when you look the other way. The secret is not motivation. The secret is tiny daily action that never stops, even when you do not feel like doing it at all. Start by identifying the dirty dishes in your life, the small tasks that you keep pushing to tomorrow until they become too heavy to lift. These could be unread emails, unfiled papers, unanswered messages, or small repairs around your house that you have been ignoring for months. Choose one of these dishes and commit to doing something about it for just 5 minutes today, right now, before you read another sentence. You are not trying to finish everything. You are trying to prove that starting is easy and that small steps add up faster than you think they will. After 5 minutes, you can stop, but you will probably notice that the task feels smaller and less scary than it did before you started. That feeling is the dirty dish lesson working its magic on your brain's avoidance patterns that have kept you stuck for so long. The hardest dish is always the first one, because the first dish requires you to break the spell of doing nothing at all. Break that spell, and the second dish is easier, the third dish is almost fun, and the fourth dish makes you feel like a superhero in your own life. Write down a list of 5 dirty dishes that are currently cluttering your mental space and feeding your overthinking every single day. Next to each dish, write the smallest possible action that would take less than 2 minutes to complete without any special tools or help. For example, reply to that email from my aunt becomes open the email and write the word thanks in the reply box right now. Organize my desk becomes put one pen back in the drawer and throw away one piece of trash from the surface. These tiny actions feel almost stupid in their smallness, and that is exactly why they work better than big heroic plans. Big heroic plans fail because they require a version of you that does not exist yet, a superhuman who never gets tired or distracted. Tiny actions work because they require nothing more than the ordinary, messy, beautiful human being who is reading these words at this moment. That human being can do one tiny thing, and one tiny thing leads to another tiny thing, and soon the whole kitchen is clean without you ever feeling overwhelmed. That is not magic. That is the physics of small actions repeated over time, and physics has never lied to anyone about how the world works. Now apply the dirty dish lesson to your biggest goal, the one that feels so huge that you do not even know where to start at all. Ask yourself, what is the smallest possible dirty dish version of this goal that I could do in the next 10 minutes? If your goal is to run a marathon, the dirty dish is putting on your shoes and walking to the end of your street and back again. If your goal is to write a book, the dirty dish is writing one sentence about a character who wants something and cannot get it. If your goal is to start a business, the dirty dish is asking one person one question about a problem they have in their daily life. You see how the marathon shrinks to a walk, the book shrinks to a sentence, and the business shrinks to a question. None of these dirty dishes are scary, and none of them require you to feel ready, confident, or special in any way. They only require you to move, and moving is the only thing that has ever separated people who dream from people who do. So find your dirty dish, wash your dirty dish, and then find another dirty dish tomorrow and another one the day after that. Watch how your relationship with big goals changes when you see them as a series of dirty dishes instead of one impossible mountain. You stop waiting for the perfect week, the perfect mood, or the perfect plan to arrive like a rescue helicopter. You start washing dishes every day, and each dish makes the next dish easier because your hands are already wet and in the sink. Your overthinking brain cannot argue with a dirty dish because a dirty dish is too simple to debate or analyze for very long. You either wash it or you do not, and you have decided that you are someone who washes one dish every day without exception. That identity is stronger than any motivation, because motivation comes and goes like the weather, but identity stays with you forever. You are now a dishwasher, a small action taker, and a person who does not let piles grow into mountains that block the sun. The sun is shining on your kitchen, and the sink is empty, and you are smiling at how simple it all turned out to be in the end. Chapter 14. Bored is a secret weapon. Most people run from boredom like it is a fire or a flood that will destroy them if they stand still for too long. They grab their phone, turn on a show, or open a new tab before the feeling of boredom can even fully arrive in their body. But boredom is not your enemy. Boredom is a secret weapon that your overthinking brain has hidden from you for years. When you are bored, your mind stops consuming and starts creating, because creation is the only escape from the empty feeling of nothing to do. The best ideas you will ever have will come to you in moments of boredom, not in moments of busy scrolling or frantic planning. Your brain needs empty space to connect dots that seem unrelated, and boredom is the empty space where those connections happen naturally. When you fill every silent moment with noise, you kill the very thing that could solve your biggest problems and launch your best work. So your new practice is to welcome boredom like an old friend who brings you gifts wrapped in silence and stillness. Start by scheduling 10 minutes of intentional boredom into your day, right after a task that usually makes you reach for your phone immediately. Put your phone in another room, turn off all screens, and simply sit in a chair with nothing to do at all for 10 full minutes. You are not allowed to read, listen, or do anything except breathe and look at the room around you like a curious visitor. The first few minutes will feel uncomfortable, like an itch you are not allowed to scratch, and your brain will beg you to check something anywhere. Do not check anything. Let the itch be there without running away from it or trying to solve it with more noise and input. Around minute 5, something interesting will happen. Your brain will get bored of being bored and will start offering you ideas out of nowhere. These ideas might be solutions to problems, memories of forgotten dreams, or sudden urges to do something you have been avoiding for weeks. This is the secret weapon firing, and you are finally letting it shoot instead of hiding behind the shield of constant distraction. Write down whatever comes to your mind during these 10 minutes of boredom, no matter how silly, random, or unrelated to your goals. You might remember that you wanted to learn a song on the piano, or call an old friend, or build a small shelf for your books. You might suddenly see the answer to a work problem that has been confusing you for days without any progress at all. You might simply feel a wave of calm that you have not felt since you were a child with nowhere to be and nothing to prove. All of these results are valuable because they come from you, not from an algorithm designed to keep you watching and buying and scrolling forever. The algorithm does not want you to be bored because bored people close their phones and live their real lives instead. But you are not here to serve the algorithm. You are here to serve your own deep need to create, connect, and become who you were meant to be. So get bored on purpose and let your own mind surprise you with the treasures it has been hiding under the noise. Now extend your boredom practice to other parts of your day where you usually grab your phone without thinking at all. Wait in line without looking at your screen, letting your eyes wander and your mind drift wherever it wants to go. Sit on the bus or in the waiting room with your hands empty and your attention turned inward instead of outward. Eat one meal a day without any screen at all, tasting your food and noticing the sounds around you like a spy gathering information. Each of these moments is a small rebellion against the culture of constant noise that has stolen your ability to think your own thoughts. Your overthinking is not too much thinking. Your overthinking is too much reacting to other people's thoughts instead of generating your own. When you get bored, you stop reacting and start originating. And originating is the only way to stop overthinking and start doing. The doers of the world are not smarter or more disciplined. They are simply more comfortable with boredom than the average person is. Become comfortable with boredom, and you become uncomfortable with staying stuck, which is the best trade you will ever make in your life. Watch how your creativity and motivation explode when you give your brain the gift of daily boredom for just 2 weeks in a row. You will have more ideas than you can write down, and some of those ideas will be the ones that change your direction completely. You will feel less anxious because anxiety feeds on distraction, and boredom starves anxiety by forcing you to sit with your feelings instead of running. You will start projects without overthinking them first because the idea came from boredom, and boredom does not come with a manual full of warnings. The idea feels light, playful, and worth trying just for the fun of trying, not for the guarantee of success or praise. That light feeling is the opposite of overthinking, which is heavy, serious, and always looking for problems that are not really there. So put down your phone, stare at a wall, and let your mind wander until it finds something worth chasing. That something is waiting for you right now, and it has been waiting since the last time you were truly, deeply, wonderfully bored. Chapter 15. Your future self is watching. There is a version of you who exists 1 year from now, and that version is watching everything you do today with great interest. Your future self cannot travel back in time to change your choices, but your future self will feel the results of every choice you make right now. If you start today, your future self will feel proud, strong, and grateful that you cared enough to begin before you felt ready. If you wait today, your future self will feel tired, stuck, and a little sad that you are still in the exact same place as before. Your future self is not a stranger. Your future self is you with more memories, more wrinkles, and more wisdom about what mattered and what did not. You have the power to give your future self the gift of progress, or the burden of more delay and more regret about time that passed too quickly. Every small action you take today is a love letter to the person you will become tomorrow, next month, and next year. So write that letter carefully, because your future self will read it every single morning when they wake up in your body. The best way to honor your future self is to ask one question before every decision that feels hard or easy to make. Ask yourself, what would the person I want to become do right now in this exact moment? That person does not overthink for 3 hours before sending a simple email that takes 30 seconds to write. That person does not wait for the perfect conditions before starting something that matters to their heart and their growth as a human being. That person takes action, learns from the results, and takes another action based on what the results taught them along the way. That person is not perfect, fearless, or born with special powers that you do not have inside of you right now. That person is simply you, but with the habit of choosing action over hesitation, and completion over perfection, and starting over waiting. You can become that person starting this very second, not by changing everything at once, but by asking that question and following the answer. Your future self is begging you to ask that question, and your future self is clapping every time you actually do what the answer tells you to do. Write a detailed letter from your future self to your current self, describing how you feel 1 year from today based on the choices you are making now. In this letter, your future self thanks you for the specific actions you took, even the small ones that felt silly at the time you took them. Your future self describes the skills you learned, the projects you finished, and the person you became by showing up every day without drama. Your future self also describes what would have happened if you had kept overthinking instead of doing, and how grateful you are that you chose differently. Read this letter out loud every morning for the next 30 days, and let it sink into your bones like water into dry soil. Your brain will start to believe that your future self is real, and that your future self is watching and waiting and hopping for you to act. That belief is not delusion. That belief is the most practical tool you have for making decisions that your future self will celebrate with tears of joy. Write the letter today, and let your future self finally breathe a sigh of relief that you are listening at last. Now create a small ritual that connects you to your future self every single day before you make your most important choices. This ritual could be putting on a specific bracelet, touching a photo of someone you admire, or saying a short sentence that only you understand. The ritual reminds you that time is passing, that today will become yesterday, and that your future self is counting on you to show up. You are not living in a practice version of your life where mistakes do not count and delays do not matter at all. This is the real game, the only game, and your future self has no other player to depend on except the one reading these words. Every time you choose action, your future self does a small dance of joy in the kitchen of their happy, productive life. Every time you choose overthinking, your future self sighs and sits down because another day has passed without progress toward their dreams. You love your future self, or you would not be reading a book about how to stop overthinking and start doing anything at all. So prove that love with your hands, your feet, and your choices, starting now, because now is the only time your future self can still be saved. Look around your room right now and notice that nothing will change unless you change it with your own 2 hands. Your future self lives in a different room, a room you have not built yet, a room that exists only in the decisions you make from this moment forward. That room could have a finished project on the desk, a healthy body in the mirror, and a peaceful mind in the bed at night. That room could also have the same old worries, the same old excuses, and the same old feeling of being stuck in yesterday's clothes. The choice is yours, and the choice is always yours, no matter how many times you have chosen the wrong thing in the past. Past choices do not determine future choices unless you let them, and you are done letting them because you have read this far. You have 15 chapters of tools, tricks, and truths in your hands, and now you have no excuse to stay where you are. So stand up, take a breath, and take one step toward the room where your future self is waiting with open arms. That step is everything, and that step is now, and now is the only time that has ever belonged to you. Conclusion. You have traveled through 15 chapters of tools, tricks, and truths about stopping overthinking and starting doing. But none of these words will change your life unless you close this book and take one single step before your brain talks you out of it. The step can be tiny, almost embarrassingly small, like writing one word, sending one text, or standing up from your chair. That tiny step is the key that unlocks the door from the prison of overthinking into the wide open field of action and progress. You do not need to feel ready, because readiness is a myth that has kept you waiting for a train that never arrives at your station. You only need to move, and moving will teach you what no book, no course, and no perfect plan could ever teach you about yourself. So put this book down, take a breath, and take that step right now, because your future self is already smiling at what you are about to do. Remember that overthinking is not a personality flaw or a permanent condition that you must accept forever. Overthinking is a habit, and habits can be broken, replaced, and rewritten with new patterns that serve your growth instead of blocking it. You now have the 5-second rule, the 10-minute dare, the dirty dish lesson, and the question of your future self watching every move you make. These tools work, but only if you use them, and using them feels strange at first, like wearing shoes that do not fit your old feet yet. Your feet will grow into these shoes, and one day you will not remember what it felt like to be stuck in your own head for hours. That day is closer than you think, but it will not arrive by magic. It will arrive by one small action, followed by another, and then another after that. So go do and become the person who stops thinking and starts living, because that person has been waiting for permission, and this is it. You have my permission, and more importantly, you have your own permission, so take it and run.